What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I am still coming at you from colorful Colorado, about to head out of here in a few days and begin my next adventure in Salt Lake City. Had a chance to read through some Facebook pages and happened to run across a post where a TNT student was showing displeasure in having to drive only nights. So I just kind of wanted to speak about that. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the running shifts, like you run from 12 to 12 and I run from 12 to 12 or 3 to 3 or whatever that is. That's not saying that my way is right. It's just the way I was trained, and I can see the benefits of how that training helped me when I was in TNT training. And what my trainer did and what I do is we basically run our clocks, whether that be our 11, 14, whatever. And what that allows me to do is teach a trainee how split schedules run and things like that, because sometimes you'll end up splitting those logs depending on the load, things like that. It allows people to drive in different drive shifts, just because that shift is always kind of rotating. But one thing about it is there are always those times when, I call it when those nights start stacking up on you. And when those nights start stacking up on you, if you're a trainee, that's the time to tell your trainer that you might be getting a little fatigued. And I can understand that. You know, as a solo driver, if I'm just first of all, I'm gonna drive as the load dictates. If I'm driving nights or whatever, it's a lot easier to drive only nights, even though that's, really not happening that much. But it is easier to drive only nights when you're solo, because you get that good, uninterrupted sleep break. You're not waking up because the truck's stopping. You're not waking up because the road's bumpy or whatever. So I understand how only driving nights could become an issue as a TNT trainer and as a TNT student. So knowing that, even though I say that I try to, we just run out our clocks and that kind of stuff, I will always try to skew those nights to me. And there's a couple reasons for that. I mean, I'm one of those lucky people that can sleep whenever I need to sleep. My endurance level, I can stay up a lot longer than most people. So if somebody's going to have to drive nights, I'm going to try to at least skew it towards me. Now, I think what might be missing in some of this is communication. And that doesn't mean that as a TNT student, this isn't getting communicated to the trainer. It may not be that trainer is listening and hearing exactly how dire that situation is, because whether it was me in training or me as a trainer, there were those times when I was just going to be too fatigued to run that night. So I might get with my student, ask them how they're feeling. We might have to flip this schedule. I need some sleep. Or we're going to have to find a time where the truck can just stop for just 10 hours. If we got time on a load or between loads, stop so everybody can get re-rested and go. Because to me, insanity as a trainer would be to have somebody that's not fully trained driving nights, and me putting my life in their hands when they could be fatigued. So I will never try to force anybody into that. As a matter of fact, my philosophy as a trainer or even as a student was, I'm going to outwork that other driver. You know what I'm saying? So there's never going to be a time that a student's going to be able to say, I drove more nights than you, I drove more hours than you, I drove more miles than you, if you were to average it all out. Now, I spoke to some people, trainees and trainers, as to why, actually more specifically trainers, why they try to have their drivers mainly drive at night. And I heard a couple different things. And one of the reasons that comes to the top of my head is that it's easier for them to sleep during the day. And if they have to be up every single time, or let's say almost every single time the truck stops, then they need to get the best sleep they can. And they feel that best sleep is at night when your normal circadian rhythms or whatever they call that, whenever they're in effect. So I can kind of understand that, but I think there needs to be some balance. I don't think that a student should just be, or even in a normal team situation, should be driving all nights or all days, because like I said, solo is not that big of a deal. When you're training, those hours will stack up on you. You know what I'm saying? Once you start getting to that 5th or 6th day of driving at night, especially if the schedule's been kind of erratic, coast to coast, maybe not as big of a deal, but maybe if you're running a load that's like, some of those loads are like maybe 500 to 700 miles, when you're maybe having to be up more, and this applies to the student or the trainer, those hours stack up. It might be time to shut the truck down for a day. Or, like I said, I get on top of my loads. I don't do the whole, well, we got all this time to get there. We're going to get out there as fast as we can. So maybe we can work ourselves into that position where we can shut the truck down for 10, 15 hours before we have to deliver. You know what I'm saying? And if that's not the case, and I do realize that my trainee is fatigued, first thing I'm going to do is tell my fleet manager, when we're done dropping this load, make us available 10 hours or whatever after that load, so both of us can get some sleep, uninterrupted, not bouncing around, none of that stuff. And then once the hours come back, then we can look, or not the hours, once that break is over with, then we can look at it and see, okay, who wants to start this drive? Who wants to drive, this night or day or whatever that is. But yeah, I just don't. I personally don't agree with the just driving night things. But one thing I will say is, if you're capable of doing it, and that doesn't mean go outside of your scope of whatever that you can physically do, but if you can handle them nights, you're gonna come out of this better. Your driving's gonna be better. Somebody coming out of TNT, if they haven't driven nights and they haven't gone through West Virginia into Pennsylvania at night, going through all them curves, you're almost kind of handicapping yourself for when you get out on your own, because I know that there's solar power truckers out there and all that kind of stuff, but at some point you're going to have to drive at night through them mountains. So the more time you're able to put into this in TNT training, the better you're going to be when you get out on your own. Remember the goofy saying, you're the captain of your ship. And that's one thing that I really tried to press on my trainees, was that if at any time you're uncomfortable driving, let me know. Do not drive if you feel like you're about to go to sleep. Don't drive if the weather conditions, if you don't feel like you can handle the weather conditions. Maybe something where, it may be your first time out in wind, and it might be a time when I have to be like, all right, well, you know what? This is drivable. Let me come up here and, kind of sit with you as we go through this, or something like that. But you are the captain of the ship, all right? Do not drive if you ever, that's insanity. That, to me, it's almost insanity having that little shift. I could do it. I'm not even going to say I could do it. As a team truck, always driving nights, those nights will just stack up on me after a while, especially if I have to get up every shipper, every receiver, every time we back, things like that. And as TNT training kind of comes to an end, that changes a little bit, where you're not having to be up every single time the truck backs up, but you can best assured every time that truck pulls into a shipper receiver, I will be up. You may not know it. I'm assuming that, if my training's gone right, when we pull into this shipper, you're going to do your, do what you got to do with your clock, and you're going to do what you have to do with the macros and arrivals and all that kind of stuff. But you could best believe I'm in the back sending in the same macros on my phone, because I'm just that, I don't know. It's just something I can't give up that much control. So I will be up every time that happens, whether I actually get out or not. Now, obviously, when we first start training, the truck's going backwards. I got to be up. May have to put it in. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like I'll back it in, you watch and see what I'm doing. I'll kind of tell you what I'm doing or whatever it is. But I can see why a trainer would do that. I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do. I can see why a trainee would not want to be driving nights all the time either, for obvious reasons. But like I said, bring that up with your trainer. That's another good reason. Everybody wants to make this transactional. This whole trucking industry transactional. I do this for that. Get to know, and I know it's harder with some than others, but have the type of rapport with your trainer where you're able to discuss how you're feeling it at a certain time. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to do it. If I'm feeling a little tired or something like that, I'm going to maybe express that and express how we kind of work around that. Whether it's, well, I may not tell them if I'm going to pull over and take a nap or something like that, but if I think it's time to flip schedules, I may be like, all right, once we get here, we're going to have to flip these schedules. We're going to have to split these logs. It's a teaching experience from learning how to split logs, and by showing my weakness, it allows them to understand that they can show the same to me. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Just wanted to get that out there right quick. TNT is a hard experience to get through. One thing that you got to do, and like I said, if you've been rocking with me for a while, I did like 7 months in TNT training. There's a carrot at the end of the stick. Once you get through TNT training, as far as I'm concerned, it's the easiest job I've ever had. That includes Burger King. That includes every job I've ever had. Once you get past this, so just, some people say embrace the suck. I say you can't skip the struggle. Just make it through this. The reward is going to be worth it in the end. Anyway, I do appreciate you stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment and subscribe, and I'm out.